All right, welcome to the final recap of March of the Machines. It's finished. Well, other than all the previews that are going to show a bunch of stuff that happened that we didn't see in the story, and Aftermath, which is going to have its own series of story articles. But we're done with the 10 for, Phyrexia's been defeated. Yay! It's also 12:49 at night. Okay. So the beginning of the March of the Machines story has wrapped up. They've defeated Phyrexia. All the Praetors dead. Phyrexia has been warped into a pocket dimension. Think Time Lords, but Teferi trapped Zhalfir there 1,000 years ago, was unable to get it back. Like, that's one thing that I think that people need to remember. Teferi was unable to get there until the shenanigans with the time travel and Kaya and the Power Stone that was the Power Stone that powered the Weatherlight and is where Sarah's realm is from. Using all that stuff, he was able to get there. But that's a lot of specific things that needed to go right and wrong at the same time for him to be able to arrive at that point. And then using the fact that he stumbled through the multiverse clumsily, Ren was able to follow that path to find the location. Using Realm Breaker, there's a lot of things that would have to go right for Phyrexia to be found. So Phyrexia is locked into that bubble. For someone to find Phyrexia in the location that Zhalfir was, they would need to be Teferi, who, using Kaya's, or be a time mage planeswalker who has a connection to Phyrexia, who gets teleported back to the Brothers' War using a entire plane collapse into a crystal, that then on their way out, they go back to there because they're connected to there. So that's where their soul kind of warps them to. And then while they're there, they have their friend who is a planeswalker dryad who has connected themselves to a world tree clone that has the ability to go not just between the planes of Kaldheim, but all of the planes, to then hunt down the path that they got there. They get to Phyrexia to then open up a door to Phyrexia. Or Ren is actually evil. We'll get to that. So the story is kind of following just everyone's post-content experience. We get a really small thing of Tamio's Kami Skrull spirit living with her family. Scene of King Harald just waiting on a boat looking at the ocean, worried that his brother Tyvar would be dead. And then after around 3 minutes, Tyvar, surprising no one, shows up like the hero of stories that he is, with the head of the completed Phyrexian coma, just on a pike, being like, "Haha, brother, I have defeated the world snake. What did you do while I was gone?" We get a scene of Pia, Nalaar, Chandra's mom, about to die to a bunch of Phyrexians, and then when the Phyrexian portals close and the connection to the actual plane of Phyrexia was disconnected, the Phyrexians kind of turn off and go into stasis. She survives. Thanks, Chandra. We then cut to Zhalfir, and on Zhalfir, there's a massive party happening. There's a long story on how, the plane is always connected by the pounding of drums, and that those can be used to communicate. And Teferi is both very hopeful to be here, but also very sad because he's kind of forgotten a lot of the ways of being a part of this people that he is a part of. And at the same time, though his people have had a really massive victory here, he's lost a lot to get to this point. And that's definitively represented in Ren, who he finds a location that he thinks best fit for her, Acorn, to regrow. I mentioned I would get here. There's a chance that Ren is Phyrexianized or completed or evil. It would make me sad, but it could definitely be a Memnarch situation or even a Karn situation. Ren and Karn have a lot of very mirrored features to them. They're not constructs, but they're vaguely constructs with very specific relationships with matter that's different than most beings with. Karn can mold himself into machines. She can mold herself into wood and trees. They can communicate with these things that other people can't really communicate with, bringing those things to life. Both of them have massive sacrifices, losing their sense of self to Phyrexia to be able to defeat Phyrexia, and then also have the ability to be reborn. Karn with just his head, or Venser Spark the first time, and Ren with her little acorn. Also, Ren is Baby Groot. They pulled a lot from Marvel. We got a Baby Groot Ren. We're gonna get a little baby Ren. It's gonna be so cute. And then Teferi's gonna be like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over there?" And Ren's gonna be like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just a treat. The other hopeful but also forlorn moment is that Teferi sees kind of the remnants of the Mirrans all around the campfire, along with the Zelfir people, kind of learning the ways and learning how they're all partying together. And Thrun is telling stories of the Mirran people to the Zhalfir, which, our boy Thrun made it. He's still the last troll. And, passing past them, he walks to the infirmary. As he gets there, he makes sure to help people as he's walking by. He doesn't just go directly to his friends, but they're pretty blatantly right there are kind of the warriors, the characters we know the names of, which include a mortally wounded Melira, Koth, Karn, Chandra, Kaya is there, and the completed Nissa and Ajani, both basically in stasis. Like, because they're no longer connected to Phryxia, they're no longer able to be awake. They explained that Saheeli stopped by and she has a theory on why all the Phyrexian stuff turned off. Basically that when Ren switched switched the places of Zhalfir and Phryxia, that the connection to it was cut off. That is definitely true, but I think that her explanation is that Elishnor was specifically connecting all of the people to her in a way to control everyone. I don't think that's true. I just think that the connection to Phryxia has been lost. You need to be able to access the Mycosynth Gardens and the oil layer and all of that stuff through at least time space to be able to be controlled or be awake, and that's no longer available. I do bring up that just because Saheeli says something is true doesn't mean it's true. She's very smart. She's a very smart lady, but it's not like Wizards is confirming that exactly that's what's happening. It's just a theory of one of the characters. I do agree with her that the point, though, is that because the oil is still there, but because it doesn't have anything transmitting what it's supposed to do, it can't do what it's supposed to do. And that makes sense, right? Like, this was a programmable substance. Its connection to the core of Phyrexia before that, the Karn's heart was what allowed it to do the bidding of what it wanted to do. People are pointing out that, like, oh, but Karn was dripping it everywhere. But Karn was a part of that. Like, that he was the first Yawgmoth descendant at that point, right? He intentionally might not have been doing it, but it was using his spark and the intent of Urza and Yawgmoth and everything that happened there and Memnarch to do that with the Mirari. So that doesn't bother me as much. Kaya then mentions that she talked to Liliana, Vivian, Tyvar, Kaido. Everyone's doing good. Everyone's chilling. They're rebuilding. A lot of people died, etc., etc. But they're fine. They're still lamenting about their friends who are, laying there completed and not knowing what to do about it. And Melira asks for them to call Karn over because she has an idea. Basically, Melira is able to use her magic, which has been able to cure Phrases in the past, combining it with Karn's artificial capabilities of modifying sparks using Venser's spark that he has in his chest. Teferi slowing down time, because to be able to do this would have to happen instantaneously, but he can slow down time so they can do it in a way that doesn't cause the sparks to deteriorate into nothing. But basically, the three of them combining their very unique to them specific capabilities does allow them to have the idea that they could, heal completion. Specifically, these are things that basically can't be recreated. Just Melira being gone herself, like her very specific, established, only her magic and immunity going away makes it so this isn't recreatable. We then cut to Koth, and he's depressed, to put it mildly. Basically, they've been able to save some Mirrans, but they lost his plane, a place that he was trying his hardest to save and protect. Many of his friends, family, and loved ones have died. Elsbeth, one of his other few friends, is now an ethereal angel being. And he also kind of doesn't know how he feels about the fact that Melira is willing to sacrifice herself to save these two Phyrexian planeswalkers. Why wouldn't they do that to the other people that weren't saved and were completed? He goes and talks to Elsbeth. She's all angely on top of a tree and is much more like ethereal and separated. But through a conversation, they're able to kind of at least make him more comfortable with the idea. So they do the ritual. They do Ajani first, and he is healed. And then when they go to Nissa, it's a little bit more of a rockier surgery. Once both procedures are done, Ajani wakes up for a second and is like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm actually a sleepy kitty. And he goes to bed. We then confirm that Melira did pass away through this process. It's also pretty heavily hinted at that Karn no longer has a spark. That part is to be seen. Koth mourns for Melira, but then we cut to Nissa and Chandra, and Nissa still hasn't woken up. During the whole procedure, it was a much rockier process with Nissa, and so it looks like she might not wake up. But then she wakes up, and they kiss, and hell yeah, let's go, girlfriends. Confirmed on air, Nissa Chandra kiss. They're in love. Off the top of my head, actually, there are 4 great LGBTQ represented relationships in this story. But this one matters. Keep it up. I'm going to do like a whole thoughts of everything follow up. But I think they landed the ending.